This is an overview of the 2022 Ferrari 296 GTS. Very similar to the 296 GTB, apart from an additional 70 kg due to the extra bracing in the chassis and the folding hardtop mechanism, so you can feel the fresh air on those summer drives. To be fair, that's all that really separates the 926 GTS with the GTB. However, let's dive a little deeper. Despite still utilising an aluminium chassis, when other high-end car manufacturers have adapted all carbon fibre, Ferrari claim the GTS is so structurally more rigid and runs identical spring rates to the coupe and only features minor adjustments to the dampeners. As with the coupe, you can have your GTB with a standard electronical adjustable dampener setup, or the fixed-rate multi-mac valve system that comes as part of the Assetto pack. If the changes seem not important, it doesn't lessen the impact of just a wild car this is. Beautiful too, and with no roof, the sharp-shaped design is a desirable 296 recipe, which has no need for huge changes. It's a compact, pure mid-engine supercar, 819 brake horsepower, thanks to its combination of a 3-litre twin-turbocharged V6 engine and electric motor. Without the electric motor, the GTS will push 654 brake horsepower and 546 pound-feet of torque, all on its own. The performance is obviously not very classical at all. The 296 GTS will do over 205 miles an hour. It will do 0 to 62 miles an hour in 2.9 seconds and 0 to 124 miles an hour in 7.6 seconds. That's 0.3 down on the GTB, but still adequate for the most part. The 8-speed dual clutch box is brilliantly punchy too. For the first time, Ferrari is using its active Aerodynamics technology not to reduce drag, but to increase downforce. Ferrari are quoting a figure of 360 kg downforce at 155 miles an hour, but up to 100 kg of that is generated by the rear wing, which deploys from the rear of the car. There are 2 radiators in the nose of the engine and gearbox cooling, plus 2 further for the cooling of the battery. Hot air is exited underneath so that it doesn't interfere with the cool air directed into the internal coolers along the flanks. The small apertures you see below the headlights are for drawing in air to cool the brakes, while the wing integrated at the rear of the roofline helps to create a rear screen that channels air to the rear of the car as it's guided along its surface. The majority of the 926's downforce is generated under the car, where particular attention has been paid not just to channeling the air and the rear diffuser, but also the height of the underbody off the ground to increase the efficiency of the downforce generating surface. The electric hardtop takes just 14 seconds to raise or lower at speeds of up to 28 miles an hour. And if you're in e-drive when you do so, the GTS is quite calming. The ride is typical Ferrari, almost plush in terms of comfort, but with a gorgeous sense of control to it. Combined with the gentle whoosh of the electric motor, the fat tyres on tarmac are easygoing. The instant acceleration is a very odd thing. A Ferrari that seems to want its driver to enjoy peace, to take in the sights and the sounds more than the intensity of the driving experience. A car that encourages you to relax and enjoy the world passing by over the curves of those delicious front wings. However, it's not. In its heart of hearts, the 296 GTS is just like the GTB. It uses its electric power to deliver a 15-mile range and oddly calming driving experience. But it'd much rather you stick the powertrain into that race mode for that full 819 brake horsepower. As you should, because the GTS is simply a fabulous car to drive with some intent. It feels much heavier than its 1,540 kg brother. The shorter wheelbase gives the car incredible agility, yet there's no spikiness to the balance, even if you snap the throttle close to mid-corner. It feels sensitively fast, but also impressively involved. Yet compared to its brother's chassis of the GTB, what's really impressive is how responsive the chassis is, and how Ferrari wasn't kidding when they told us that the aim of this car is to make it fun to drive. It feels highly agile, without bordering on being nervous. The steering is typically light and fast, but there's detail here too. And while the grip levels are very high as you might expect, the GTB feels much lighter than its Spider brother. There's a lack of inaction to the whole car that encourages you to work with it, making small inputs and revealing its accuracy and precision. The CT off mode allows you to take amazing liabilities with the accompanying reassurance that there's still an electronic brain far more intelligent than your own. But even with everything switched off, the natural balance of the 926 means that it can be teased into oversteer in a way you'll never think was possible in an 800 brake horsepower car. The huge amounts of technology on this Ferrari, but somehow it's almost invisible from behind the wheel. It's outrageous. The 3-litre twin-turbocharged V6 deserves a lot of praise. No, it can't match the screamers of the old terms exhaust system entertainment, but it's genuinely characterful. It sounds sweet, its pure delivery is brilliant, matching to the big hit of an electronic boost power that's available from very low revs. When you feel the big punch of torque low down, it seems unfathomable, but it can be stable even past 8,000 RPM. The cabin is very similar to that of an SF90, for the 926 borrows heavily from that car. I struggle to get along with the pure digital interface and its complexity of the switchgear, which is all applied on the steering wheel, and on more traditional Ferrari pods, even to the side of the steering wheel. It's undoubtedly complicated, but then to be fair, there is a lot of information to impart. But the worst of it is how simple operations sometimes require a second press after the first attempt didn't register, or not knowing whether your press was successful at all. The 926 always starts off in hybrid mode, which means it will move away on the electronic power alone, unless you tell it otherwise, via the drive mode buttons on the left side of the wheels. And as long as you don't introduce too much throttle, it will continue to run purely on electric power. You can elect the car into EV mode too, regardless of the demands you make of the powertrain. Or there's the further performance and qualifying modes. In these, both power sources work together. In the former with a view to also keeping the battery topped up. You can really feel how low the engine is mounted down on this car. The GTS really is fantastically graceful, and with the roof lowered, you can even gain a bit of traction as there's more weight over the rear axle. Ferrari has also worked wonders in terms of the chassis stiffness. The roofless Ferrari feels very compromised compared to, let's say, a McLaren 720S Spider. It wobbles and creaks, where the carbon tube of the McLaren stays solid. However, the 296 GTS gets much closer to the benchmark McLaren, and there's no steering compromisation or any horrible feeling in the steering column, like it's made of jelly. Does the GTS feel as stiff as the GTB? No, but we're talking tiny differences. And with the roof down, you can definitely get different and truer tones. The turbochargers are more vocal, more intense to the car's appeal, fascinating sounds of the ICE and EV combining is unique and exciting. Overall, the 296 GTS is deeply desirable and fantastically enjoyable too. The crazy thing about Ferrari's entry-level hybrid is just how balanced it is. It's intensely fast, but the raw performance doesn't dominate everything. Instead, the light steering is another highlight, and it's matched really effectively with the sharpness of the chassis. The brakes, which have the same ABS Evo system as the GTB, feel more than capable, and due to their efficiency in terms of trail braking. They are built with confidence and efficiency as you turn strongly into the corner. You never feel the GTS is stretched or running out of composure. There are some minor issues. The interior looks cool, but the functionality of the switches and the pressure pads is complex, overall sensitive and at times just plain annoying. It also looks like a Christmas tree when driving in fully dark conditions. The driving position itself doesn't match that of the McLaren or a Maserati MC20 for that matter. You feel on top of the car rather than right down in its chassis. Despite these minor issues, the 296 GTS is a fabulous supercar. The engine is a little dual, the hybrid intelligence is brilliantly managed, and despite embracing too much technology, the GTS is remarkably honest in its dynamics. Even a coupe worshipper, such as myself, should be swayed by the Gran Turismo Spider. It's just so damn gorgeous. However, one thing makes me think the GTB is still the one to get is the price and the increased 70 kg penalty. With a starting price of £279,248 before any options, that's a premium of nearly £4,000 on top over the coupe.